Assalamu alaikum and good evening. On behalf of the Town of Ajax, I'd like to welcome everyone tonight. First and foremost, we welcome community. We are honored by the presence of elders and also some youth. Thank you for being here. We are also grateful for the presence of Ajax Council, MPs, members of the Durham Regional Police Service, our friends from the Ajax Public Library, different Muslim serving organizations, school board trustees, and everyone who's gathered here today in solidarity. This is an intergenerational, cross-cultural, collective moment, and we are very grateful to share it with you. My name is Mari Carmen Lara Villanueva. I am the EDI coordinator at the Town of Ajax, and it is my honor to be your host tonight. Let us begin this gathering in a good way. And to do that, I'm going to welcome my colleague, Yasmin Bell, who will ground us in place by offering a land acknowledgement.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Yasmin Bell. I'm the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer here at the Town of Ajax, and I'll be reading both our land acknowledgement as well as our ancestral land acknowledgement. We'd like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is situated within the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas. More specifically, the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation, signatories of the Gunshot Treaty of 1788 and the Williams Treaties of 1923. This land is and will continue to be home to Indigenous peoples. Let us acknowledge the mistakes and traumas of the past through authenticity and support truth and reconciliation. Let us engage and celebrate Indigenous communities by being leaders of action in acknowledging the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and Truth and Reconciliation Commission's recommendations towards truth and reconciliation. Let us keep these principles close as we continue towards truth and reconciliation and as we move forward with the kindness and respect as a community. The Town of Ajax acknowledges all treaty peoples and the Indigenous nations on whose traditional territories we live and work. We recognize that this town and this country benefits from the stolen labor of Black and African descended peoples, including those who arrived as settlers, as migrants, whether in this generation or generations past, and those who were brought here involuntarily through the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. We pay tribute to the ancestors of African origin and descent. We acknowledge both land and labor as foundational to this country's creation and the ongoing inequities we strive to address. We commit to truth-telling, remembrance, and the continuous work of decolonization and the anti-Black racism and pursuing liberation for all oppressed peoples. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yasmin. Now that we are grounded in place, let's get grounded in faith. So I am going to invite Fatima Abdullah from the NCCM, National Canadian Council of Muslims, and she will be doing a dua for us, which is a prayer. Thank you, Fatima.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, I'm going to begin with a small prayer. O Allah, we ask you to keep our sister in your protection, to heal her heart, body, and spirit, and to grant our community strength, patience, and unity in the face of injustice. Let this gathering be a source of healing and a reminder of our shared purpose. Thank you.
Before we begin with the program, I just want to say a few words to remind us why we are here today. We are gathering tonight because harm was done in a place that should have been safe. And we know that this act sits within a larger pattern of anti-Muslim racism. The attack that brings us here reminds us that public spaces, like libraries, are not always experienced equally. But they are also places we refuse to be pushed out from. This is about reclaiming belonging, asserting presence, and confronting the ways in which anti-Muslim racism continues to shape who is made to feel safe and who isn't. As Muslim women, we often find ourselves on the front lines, not just of Islamophobia, but also the intersecting forces of patriarchy, racism, and surveillance. Our hijab has become a contested symbol. It renders us hyper-visible to the dominant gaze, and yet invisible. Invisible in our intellect, invisible in our autonomy, invisible in our strength. We are read as symbols before we are seen as people. Our bodies have become battlegrounds where narratives of oppression, victimhood, and rescue are projected. We are either too visible, marked as threats or subjects of pity, or entirely erased, spoken about, but rarely with. To wear the hijab in public, for many, is not just an act of faith. It becomes an act of resistance, one that challenges the racialized and gender logics that seek to define us. We are here today because harm occurred, and because the town recognized the need to respond. I want to acknowledge and be fully transparent that I am new to the town, but in that short period, in this short time, I have witnessed my team respond with deep integrity, working tirelessly to organize this moment with care, thinking about culturally relevant approaches, and in a consultative approach as well, which was rooted in gentleness, in active listening, especially to those most affected. This gathering is a declaration that what happened must not happen again. Our fundamental right to feel safe must be protected. Our fundamental right to exist as Muslims must be preserved. We gather here in solidarity around these simple truths, truths that should never have to be defended. To those of you who are not Muslim, we see you, we welcome you, and we are grateful for your presence. To my brothers and sisters, how meaningful it is to stand together today, knowing that we are joined by allies who are committed to showing up with integrity, to learning, and engaging in solidarity that is thoughtful, that is informed, and that is grounded in shared values of peace. We are together in peace. Without further ado, let me welcome our first speaker, who will be doing brief remarks, and that is Chief of Police for the Durham Regional Police Service, Peter Moreira. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Peter Moreira, and I have the absolute honor and privilege of being the 9th Chief of the Durham Regional Police Service. And I want to thank you all for inviting me into your space here tonight for this community healing event. I'm joined tonight by Acting Inspector of West Division, Chris Boylo, who's at the back of the room, Constable Sarah Porter, a member of our hate crime unit, who's also at the back of the room, our Director of Corporate Communications and Stakeholder Relations, Chris Bovey, and Constable Christina Boyd and Aaron Wood, both from our Equity and Inclusion unit. Community safety is a shared partnership with all of you, our community. Building relationships is essential to that commitment. It is built by coming together in both times of celebration and in times of need. I know our divisional inspectors across this region are dedicated to connecting and fostering relationships with our faith leaders and communities to ensure that that dialogue is ongoing and collaborative. We know that, like many crimes, hate-motivated incidents are underreported, and alongside the region of Durham, we are working to raise awareness and education to encourage reporting to better address hate-motivated crimes right here in our home. This is something I and our entire service takes very seriously. Let me be clear, hate has no place in our society and will not remain here unchallenged in our region. It is why we put in our latest budget money dedicated solely for the creation of a standalone hate crimes unit so that we can pay better attention to those crimes that are being committed here that often go reported as something else that is motivated by hate. And we're going to identify those and we're going to investigate those. And as I mentioned, Constable Sarah Porter, who was recently assigned to that unit, is with us here tonight. Just this week, we hosted the Countering Hate and Violent Extremism Conference right here in our region, which was attended by other police services and other stakeholders to better recognize the current violent extreme tactics and techniques and identifying those best practices to investigate those kinds of crimes. We hosted that here. We are also meeting with the Canadian Race Relations Foundation in May to engage in their leadership team to bring some of their best practices here to our hate crimes unit as we embark on this very important work. All of these steps are made to enhance our service when it comes to combating hate, but most important, it is to continue the dialogue and engagement we have with our citizens, which includes all of our faith communities, to better understand the individual perspectives and concerns. And I will now speak as much as I can about the incident in Ajax Library that sparks tonight's gathering, one that I'm equally concerned, like everyone else in this room here. I'm quite frankly frustrated because they're involved in this incident is someone who has a history of criminal behavior and random indiscriminate assaults against individuals, including our own police officers. Some or many parts of our system just are not working. This individual should never have been in a position to even be here, assaulting one of our community members. And I have and will continue to raise this topic of recidivism on many fronts with all of our elected officials in our community and our Police Services Board, who also takes this very seriously. When we look at these cases of recidivism and multiple changes in cases here and across Canada, all relate to very serious offenses, and we are right to question why these offenders are out there and being released, only to reoffend. I don't know if there is a far deeper mental health or addictions issue at play, but regardless, we know that our system needs to change, and I, for one, am using my platform to argue for those changes with all of our elected officials at every single level. Our service will continue to play a role in community safety by being responsive and proactive, as well as advocating with stakeholders, justice and social services to enact the changes that will enhance safety in this region. I want to thank you for having me here tonight. Thanks.
Thank you for your words and for your service. Now I'm going to welcome Deputy Mayor Sterling Lee.
Thank you, Mary Carmen. Thank you, Chief, for those words. My name is Sterling Lee, Deputy Mayor for the Town of Ajax. I stand here alongside my council colleagues, Regional Councillor Marilyn Crawford, Regional Councillor Joanne Dice, Local Councillor Rob Tyler-Morin, Local Councillor Nancy Henry, Local Councillor Lisa Bauer, and unfortunately our mayor is out of the country at this time. I also stand beside members of the DRPS, members of Ajax Fire, members of our Durham District School Board, members of our Durham Catholic School Board, members from Pickering, Clarington, representatives from Brampton, elected officials, MPP, Sir Janik, thank you for joining us today, as well as future elected officials. We're also joined by local business owners, service providers, families, and individuals who contribute to the heart of Ajax. Today, we are joined by some incredible speakers who bring wisdom and strength to this space. We gather today in solidarity with a community member who was attacked in one of our shared spaces. We are here to reflect, share resources, and tell our stories. This moment is more than just about one person. This is about the safety, dignity, and sense of belonging for an entire community. I speak on behalf of my colleagues, the entire town, when I say that one defining message has become clear in our town. Hate has no home in Ajax. However, words alone are not enough. We must take meaningful action. The path forward is through education, creating spaces where people feel safe to show up as their authentic selves, and ensuring the conversations we have this evening extend beyond this room. On behalf of the Town of Ajax, we stand in unwavering solidarity with our Muslim community. Together, we will disrupt Islamophobia by rejecting hate with love, fear with unity, and darkness with light. Mary Carmen mentioned faith, and we are here because of faith. One woman's faith caused her to be attacked in an awful example of Islamophobia. Faith in our systems, for our library staff and DRPS for reacting quickly and emphatically, ensuring that this won't happen again. Finally, faith in our community as we look beyond the horrors of yesterday towards a better tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And we can now begin with our fantastic keynote speakers. And I just have to say that I am honored to be sharing space with them tonight. I'm going to introduce Amira El-Gawabi, Canada's Special Representative on Combating Islamophobia. Amira serves as a champion, advisor, expert, and representative to support and enhance the federal government's efforts in the fight against Islamophobia, systemic racism, racial discrimination, and religious intolerance. She promotes awareness of the diverse and intersectional identities of Muslims in Canada and provides advice to the government in the development of inclusive policies, legislative proposals, programs, and regulations that reflect the realities. In so doing, she also helps advance respect for equity, inclusion, and diversity, and shines a light on the important contribution of Muslims to our country's national fabric. Amira, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. May peace and blessings be upon you all. Bonsoir tout le monde. It is my absolute honor to be joining members of the Durham community here in Ajax, alongside Deputy Mayor Sterling Lee, representatives from City Council, Durham Regional Police, and other local leaders who work every day to ensure that these communities remain safe for all of us. Thank you for not only inviting me to be part of tonight's event, but for organizing it, for demonstrating this commitment to unity, understanding, and safety for all. I would also like to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional and treaty territory of the Mississaugas of the Scugog Island First Nation. And I am very, very touched to be here tonight, even though we are here because of a distressing act of violence that was committed against a member of your community, a Muslim woman here in Ajax. I have had the opportunity to connect privately with the victim, and I expressed our collective support for her and her family during this very difficult time. She sent me the following message last night to share with all of you. She wrote, "First and foremost, I want to extend my deepest gratitude, humbleness, gratefulness, and appreciation for the outpouring of support I received from the town of Ajax, its residents, and its dedicated staff following a deeply traumatic event in my life. As many of you know, I was the victim of a hate-motivated attack and attempt to set my hijab on fire. It was an experience I wouldn't wish on anyone. Terrifying, shocking, and emotionally overwhelming. But what followed that day reminded me why I've always considered Canada my true home. From the very first moment, the staff at the Ajax Public Library responded with care and compassion. I was not just another person in distress. They made sure I felt safe, seen, and supported. The security guards treated the situation with the seriousness it deserved and gave me a sense of protection that I so desperately needed at the time. Their empathy and quick action played a major role in alleviating the trauma I was feeling, and for that, I am forever thankful. I must also extend my heartfelt gratitude to the police officers who handled the case with exceptional kindness and professionalism. One moment I will never forget is when an officer went out of his way to literally purchase a hijab from a nearby store so I could exchange the one I was wearing for forensic analysis. It might seem like a small gesture to some, but to me, in that moment of vulnerability, it meant the world. His kindness reminded me that even in the face of hatred, there is far more good in the world. Though I was shaken, I refused to let this incident change my deep love for this country. Every time I travel, no matter where I go, I miss Canada. I long to return home, not just because of the land, but because of the people and the values we share here. From the bottom of my heart, thank you once again to the town of Ajax, to the library staff, the security guards, the police officers, and to everyone who reached out with love and solidarity. You've reminded me that hate can never overpower the light of kindness and of humanity. Those were her words, and it is this message of hope that we must all carry as we recommit to ensuring that everyone, including Muslims, have the opportunity to live in dignity and be able to be who they are without fear. And it is our collective responsibility to work together for this vision. The grief, sadness, fear, anger, hurt, and pain we all have when incidents of hate and discrimination occur is immense. Hate crimes are known as message crimes because they send a dangerous message not only to the victim, but to the entire community. And this forces us to navigate the hurt and heartbreak that continues to haunt the lives of those impacted and those who call community home. As Canada's first special representative on combating Islamophobia, I can tell you that this is a challenge that's been navigated by communities across the country. And I want to especially take a moment to thank Canadian Muslim organizations like the National Council of Canadian Muslims, like the Muslim Advisory Council of Canada. All these organizations from within our own communities are also standing up for our human rights, as well as leaders at our community mosques who are supporting the spiritual health and well-being of our communities, as well as civic leaders, individuals, for instance, like Mohsin Kermali, who is an advisor to the Brampton City Mayor on issues impacting Muslim communities there. All of us play critical roles to ensure that Canada holds true to its promise to all of us to be a place where we can be safe. Because after all, Canada, despite its long-standing pride as a mosaic of cultural tolerance and respect, is heartbreakingly not immune to hate and polarization that have proliferated on our social media channels throughout our society, spilling out into real life in devastating ways. It was in fact my 7-year-old son a few years ago who saw the front page newspaper headline the day after our London family, as they came to be known, were tragically, deliberately killed. Why would someone want to kill Muslims? He asked me. What can any parent say? In fact, it wasn't the first time a child of mine had wondered such a thing. My younger daughter was only 11 when another killer, also consumed by hate of Muslims, walked into a Quebec City mosque in 2017 and began shooting indiscriminately into the crowd of worshippers, which included a young girl. When the bullets stopped, 6 men had been killed and many others severely injured. No child, no one, should live in a world where such things happen, where their parents can go into a mosque or for a walk or to the library and face hate. Yet more Canadian Muslims have been killed in such targeted violence than of any other G7 country. And it's why my office exists. Canadian Muslims had long before these attacks been warning officials for years about the growing hate and Islamophobia in our country, posing a real and present danger to our communities. And while this attack that brings us all together, thankfully, did not have a fatal result, we know that within our communities, we will always wonder, how safe are we truly? Whether it is wearing a hijab when we're walking in our neighborhoods, hoping that no one yells at us or hurts us, or sitting quietly by ourselves, will we be safe? Now, Canadians have overwhelmingly shown love and compassion for our communities will overcome, just like tonight's event demonstrates. We know that we share so much, values of love, respect, and dignity, that we cannot let those who want to fuel fear, hatred, and alienation for political or personal gain be the ones to have the upper hand. Our message back to all of those who do want to see division take root, they will not succeed. And we know that this is especially true for visibly Muslim women, given the unique threats that they face. As we heard earlier, Muslim women do face various kinds of targeting for being both women and Muslim, and this is called gendered Islamophobia. Muslim women's experiences of Islamophobia are shaped by the intersection of their gender and religious identities. The form of discrimination that stereotypes that Muslim women face include being seen as oppressed victims of a barbaric patriarchy, ignoring their agency and autonomy. These harmful perceptions contribute to a social, economic, psychological, and physical harmful environment where Muslim women can face discrimination and violence simply for their visible religious identity, especially for those who wear the hijab or other visible marks of their identity. In addition to the disturbing attacks here in Ajax, there have been other, sadly, too many incidents, such as a hate-motivated knife attack on two sisters in Edmonton in 2021, or recently, attacks against Muslim women on public transit, or women having their hijabs ripped from their heads or being spat on the street or on university campuses. In fact, Statistics Canada reported that for all types of hate crimes reported to police between 2010 and 2019, violent incidents targeting Muslim populations were more likely than other types of hate crimes to involve female victims. We also know that Muslim women continue to face systemic barriers in education, healthcare, workforce, and in public life. For instance, recent research from the Canadian Council of Muslim Women shows that in spite of being highly qualified, Muslim women are often underemployed at higher rates than the general Canadian population. And this demonstrates the multiple layers of discrimination and disadvantage that we as women face on the basis of race, faith, and gender. These harmful attitudes continue to impact our social fabric and the well-being of our communities. A big part of my work at the federal level has been raising awareness and providing resources to empower communities in fighting back against this. In fact, the good news is nearly half of Canadians have said they want to be allies. They want resources to do just that. We recently responded by publishing a brand new guide on how to understand and combat Islamophobia for a more inclusive Canada. And I invite all of you to visit our website and have a chance to look at what is a guide, one of its kind, anywhere in the world. Now, while no one resource can be fully exhaustive, this guide offers one more tool in our toolbox to help address the dangerous, pernicious views of Muslim communities. And it's meant for everyone: educators, employers, administrators, decision makers, journalists, lawyers, judges, law enforcement, students, and community leaders. Together, we can act. We must not wait when it's too late. As we see by looking around this room, combating Islamophobia isn't one person's job, it's not one institution's job, it's not one town's responsibility or one level of government. It will require action from each and every one of us, along with the private sector, media, public institutions, including schools and universities, civil society, and everyday people. To conclude, I want to again sincerely thank the Town of Ajax for the incredible leadership you have demonstrated to all of us in bringing us together tonight, in refusing to let the actions of one person define your community. To the members of the local Muslim community who are joining us, I want to thank you for your resilience, for stepping up, for showing up, for contributing positively and reflecting the very best of what it means to be a Muslim and what it means to be a Canadian. Your compassion and humility in the face of challenges is inspiring. And for the allies tonight, thank you. Thank you for being here with us. And I'll conclude with sharing the same message I shared with groups of Muslim youth I met with yesterday in the wake of this attack. We are blessed to live in a country like Canada, where human rights, our rights to worship freely, to express ourselves, to participate, are a promise made to us, and a promise we must work together to ensure is not broken. And why? Because we all belong here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amira, for those words. I am now going to welcome Kubra Mir. Kubra is the Executive Director of the Muslim Women of Durham region. She is a dedicated community leader and has lived in Ajax for the past 14 years. In 2023, she co-founded the Muslim Women of Durham region, an organization focused on empowering women and youth through leadership opportunities and community engagement. Thank you, Kubra.
Assalamu alaikum and hello. Thank you to the Town of Ajax for holding this event and allowing me to speak today. As Executive Director of Muslim Women of Durham Region, I'm privileged to speak on behalf of 120 women from various cultures and professions located here in Ajax and across Durham Region. When I first heard about the attack at the library, I was shocked. I can't imagine the pain the victim felt and the trauma she must be still facing. And I was also very sad. This is not the Ajax that I know and that I love. One of my members, told me that she wanted to bring her daughter to this library. And the daughter says, I don't want to go. It's not safe there. And this really breaks my heart when I hear these kinds of messages. A library should be a positive space, somewhere that should be welcoming. So this is very disturbing. So I have lived my whole life in Canada. Growing up, I was bullied for being brown, for being Muslim, and I was beaten up. I was told to go home, Paki. And for me, that has affected my whole life. It's made me ashamed. It's made me feel self-conscious. And it's so sad that I'm seeing this happening again. So, anyways, I held my first Islamic History Month event in partnership with Ajax Library 6 years ago. And the library was very welcoming. They allowed me every year for the last 6 years to use their display case for Islamic History Month and for Ramadan. So this is such a wonderful way for us to showcase the good things about Islam. And I have contacted them and asked them about books. They have been so accommodating and they have purchased books that I've recommended. And also, last year, I was approached by the library and they said, we want to do a craft at our local makerspace. And they asked my opinion. And, again, this year. So it's so wonderful that they're reaching out, they're asking us, they're doing these things for us to make us feel welcome. And this year, I was contacted again by the library, and for a wonderful thing, I was asked to consult about a prayer space. And so, alhamdulillah, we had 2 prayer spaces. This year in Ramadan, we had a space here in our local Ajax Central Library and also in our Audley. And our group also donated prayer mats for that. I can't tell you how excited our group was. I think we needed 4, we got like 40. So people were very excited by this, and we're very excited to be able to do that. And for the last 3 years, I have partnered with 5 local libraries. I'm in all the libraries in Durham. And what we do is we present story time. What this is we come, we read books by Muslim authors. We have a craft, a coloring, henna. And this has been so well received. We've had hundreds of children come up. And for me, that makes it really worthwhile. It's not just Muslim children. It's any child who comes up. And it's making them aware of Islam. It's making them aware of our culture. And I've also had the pleasure of working with the Town of Ajax. 6 years ago, in the same library that we had the attack, Sterling Lee proclaimed for the first time in Durham Region Islamic History Month. I think that's such a great accomplishment. And also we had our MP, Mark Holland, he also was there. And that was the first start, right? And last year, standing right here, I addressed town council. We talked about the Quebec shooting and the impact that it had. And again, this year, the town did something for that. And I'm so thankful for those little things, but they're big things and they have such a great impact. And members of Ajax Council, they have been so supportive. They come to my events. They're always there to acknowledge us. They come to my storytime events, like I've mentioned. I have adopted a park. They come there. They're always supportive, always welcoming. And I'm so thankful that we are the first group in Durham region to receive a grant for Islamic History Month. We held our first event last October. We had 450 people attend. And inshallah, we're going to be back again October 5th. So please mark your calendar, join us. It's an opportunity for us to showcase Islam in a positive light. So we really welcome this from the town. And I just want to say that the reasons why I'm bringing up these examples is that Ajax, the town, the library have been creating space and inclusive spaces for us here in Ajax. We have worked with them before, and we are committed as an organization to continue to work with them when faced with adversity. And as we say, we're stronger together as allies and as equals. And I also had a meeting with my members and I said, hey, I'm going to be having this conversation. What do you want me to share? And so to the library, we're concerned about our safety. So we need to work on maybe giving some training for staff to deal with these situations going forward. But again, we all as a collective have a responsibility to keep our spaces safe, right? And we would like to make that prayer space permanent. It was such a great response. I spoke to Sarah Dodge, the mayor today, the manager, and she said about 170 people used that prayer space. What a great accomplishment. Thank you, Town of Ajax and the library for that. We'd also like to see more books on Islam, right, in the libraries. And the other question that people have asked me is, the attacker, she was motivated by mental health. And my question to you is, if that attacker was brown, like myself, would it be all over the media as being a hate crime, right? So let's think about that, right? So we're giving it the benefit to the doubt because it's a person who's not of color, right? And we would like to work with the police, and we would like to, my members have mentioned that they have been racially profiled for wearing the hijab, for, looking Arab. They've been pulled over. So maybe we should, think about those kind of conversations. And the other thing that my members want is they want a motion by the town to condemn anti-racism and Islamophobia, and we want policies in place for the future. It would be nice actually if the town could offer free self-defense courses for women right now who are feeling vulnerable and scared. We would also like to have the town create awareness campaigns that hate has no space in Ajax. Maybe put that up all over the buses, wherever these public spaces are. Have a phone number that people can call if they feel threatened or they want to, be anonymous in doing these things. Right now, women are facing, psychological microaggressions, such as dirty looks, especially women who are wearing hijab, they're feeling scared. So what we want to have is hopefully we can establish a support group that these women can reach out and, have shared experiences and maybe some advice on what to go forward. And we're very fortunate that the region of Durham, they're also here today, has diversity and equity. They've invited us to help formulate a protocol for reporting hate incidents. And we're so honored to have this opportunity to participate. And finally, I just like to say that there is some work to be done. We know that. But we know that the people of Ajax care and are willing to address Islamophobia in our community. And we look forward to working together and building these connections. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Kubra. I was taking notes, just so you know. Kubra and I met last week in a meeting, and I'm already very excited to be working with you in the future. It takes strength to bring truth to spaces like this, and we see that. Thank you, Kubra. And next, last but not least, we are honored to introduce Fatima Abdullah. She is the National Council for Canadian Muslims Senior Advocacy Officer. She graduated from a degree in Political Science and Communication from the University of Ottawa. She's an advocate and a strong leader in the community, and we are very proud to have her here. The floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum and peace be upon you. My name is Fatima Abdullah and I'm a Senior Advocacy Officer at the National Council of Canadian Muslims. We work to combat Islamophobia in all of its forms at all levels of government. Firstly, thank you all for being here. And thank you to Amira for the work that you do as the Special Representative on combating Islamophobia. Thank you to Kubra and the Muslim women of Durham, all local masajid leaders that are here tonight, as well as the Town of Ajax's Anti-Racism Task Force. And a special thank you to the Town of Ajax's DEI staff, especially Mary Carmen and Yasmin, for your leadership in putting together tonight's event, as well as your leadership in the wake of this incident. We come together today with heavy hearts, but with a spirit of resilience and care. The recent attack on our sister, targeted simply for wearing hijab, for living visibly and proudly as a Muslim woman, is horrifying. It was not just an act of violence, but a deliberate attempt to instill fear, to push us into the shadows. But we are here, we are still standing, and we are not alone. At NTCM, we've seen how deeply Islamophobia wounds individuals and communities. That's why we work every day to challenge hate, to demand accountability, and to build spaces where our people, especially our women, can feel safe and affirmed. We've been calling for stronger protections in public spaces and for institutions to finally take these threats seriously. But healing is just as critical as advocacy. And tonight in the circle, we're reminded that our greatest strength comes from each other through our duas, our stories, our solidarity. To our sister, we see you, we pray for you, and we carry your pain as our own. To our community, we will not be silent. We will keep fighting for justice, for safety, and for the right to live freely and without fear. May Allah ease our grief, strengthen our resolve, and guide us to a future free of hate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fatima, for those words. I want to thank everyone here, Amira, Kubra, Fatima. Thank you so much for your strength, for your words. We took notes. I also want to make space to recognize that the voice of the victim was in some ways here in spirit. So thank you, Amira, for bringing that message. One of the takeaways from that message for me is that in spite of the horrible act that she experienced, she still refused to see the hate, and she's inviting us to actually focus on the beauty of the people who helped her. So that's kind of the takeaway that I'm inviting everyone to think about.
I'd like to thank the Town of Ajax for putting this event together and for the work that was done meeting together, us all together. When we come into this room tonight, we show that evil has no place in Durham region. When we're in this room, we show that there is no hate in Durham region. And when we're in this room together, we show that we are not complacent. And we will come together to every time something like this happens. I want to say thank you for being here tonight, because your presence is showing that we care and you're making a difference. I know that prayers are coming up very quickly, so I just want to say thank you. I want to thank the chief of police and his team that are here today, and I'd like to thank the Ajax councilors for being here and hosting this event. Thank you.